Hey y'all, I'm Mickey Gousset, and I've got something really interesting to show you that was announced around secret scanning in GitHub. So I've done a previous deep dive video into secret scanning, which if I remember correctly, I'll link up somewhere, maybe over here, we'll see. And where I covered all the different aspects of secret scanning. And as you know, secret scanning, the way it works in GitHub is when you turn it on, it immediately looks through your repo history, discussions, issues, looks for secrets. And then every time you push something up in the repo, it looks for secrets. Now, part of secret scanning as well is push protection, which is trying to block the secret before it makes it into GitHub itself. Now, secret scanning by default is scanning for partner type secrets. And with push protection, we used to only scan for a subset of those partner secrets. And that's because we were trying to make sure we were as accurate as possible if we're going to try to block your push. Well, we just announced that you can configure patterns in push protection for secret scanning. And what that means is you're able to control which patterns secret scanning will block for and which patterns it won't block for. And there's some other information in here that you can use. For example, there's data that's derived on alert volume, false positive resolutions, etc. So you can determine whether to include a pattern or not. So let's go look at how we can actually turn this on, right? And how this works. So if I come out here, you can do this at the organization level or at the enterprise level. I'm going to do it at the organization. I'm going to go to my organizational settings. And if you go to advanced security, global settings for the organization settings, and we scroll down under secret scanning, you'll see push protection pattern configurations. You can see we currently have 330 patterns enabled. And if I click the pattern configuration button, this is where we can see all the patterns that are enabled and disabled. So by default, it's showing, in this case, 1Password service account token is actually disabled, whereas the Adafruit IO key is enabled. And we've got some information on here to try to help you understand, should you want to enable or disable this? For example, if a certain alerts have been marked a lot as false positives and they've turned out to be false positives, you might want to disable this pattern. Or if they're being bypassed a good bit, you might want to disable the pattern. Now, by default, it's going to inherit from whatever the enterprise settings are, but at the organization level, you can override these settings. So you could set it to be enabled at the organization, meaning you're controlling it being enabled here at the org level, or you could set it to be disabled, meaning we're not going to scan for that key. Now, as you saw back on the previous page, there's about 330 or so keys, maybe even more than that. So there's a lot of keys in here, and by default, some of them are disabled and some of them are enabled. But now we're giving you the option as the administrator to be able to determine, do you want to block on patterns that might generate a little more false positives, or do you want to not block on those patterns to make the experience a little bit better for your developers? But this is a cool new configuration feature that is generally available to everyone. So I highly recommend that you go check it out. Now I'll link, if I remember, like I said, I'll link to my video on secret scanning, or I'll try to also put it in the comments below. But let me know if you found this interesting, if this is the kind of stuff you're interested in seeing, because we're starting to provide more and more ways for you to configure the tooling to work the way you want it to. And I think that's a great thing, to be able to configure it the way you want. So will you modify this? Will you take the defaults, or will you go in and modify this to work the way you want it to work? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Now, if you enjoyed this video, I'd love it if you would like the video, subscribe to the channel, share the video with other people. That's what allows me to grow and allows me to continue to get to do this fun stuff about making videos around GitHub and DevOps. Thanks for watching.